Welcome everyone to German Tool Reviews. Today we have a set of Gedore Circlip Pliers. Circlip pliers are also known as retaining ring and snap ring pliers. These are for removing retaining rings that are built to the DIN 471 and 472 standards. I ordered this set because I had a couple of missing sizes and I wanted to get started on some of Gedore's tool modules for the 1578 tool trolley that I own. The model number for this set is 1500 CT1-8000, which includes 6 circlip pliers and comes in a positive tool check 2-color foam system. You can get a similar set with the part number 1500 ES-8000 that comes in a plastic tray. These units are all made in Austria. First looking at the box, it looks like Gedore has changed this to an all-blue color scheme as part of their rebranding effort. The previous box was a light blue with the patterned Gedore logo. I'm not sure if I like this new box better than the old one. It is certainly more difficult to tell that there is a Gedore product inside. So let's go ahead and unbox this thing. Inside we have the familiar Gedore control sheet along with a thin layer of foam for protection during shipping. I will say that they have a very nice presentation with these tool modules. Included with this set are 6 circlip pliers, 3 for internal, and 3 for external retaining rings. I really like how they have color-coded the handle types, with the red handles used for external retaining rings and the blue ones used for internal retaining rings. The shape and size of the pliers is defined by the DIN 5254 and 5256 standards, which define the following forms. A Form A, which has straight tips for external retaining rings, Form B, which has 90-degree tips for external retaining rings, Form C, which has straight tips for internal retaining rings, and a Form D, which has 90-degree tips for internal retaining rings. The pliers included in this set are the following. For external retaining rings with red handles, we have the 8000 A1, which is a 10 to 25 millimeter Form A, 8000 A2, which is a 19 to 60 millimeter Form A, and an 8000 A21, which is a 19 to 60 millimeter Form B. For internal retaining rings with the blue handles, we have an 8000 J1 for 12 to 25 millimeters in a Form C, 8000 J2 for 19 to 60 millimeters in a Form C, and an 8000 J21 for 19 to 60 millimeters in a Form D. Both of these sets have plastic dipped handles. Gedore does offer both versions of their circlip pliers with anti-slip dip coating, but I actually prefer this style because they're much easier to clean. Gedore also offers a pair of circlip pliers called the X-Grip, which is used for massive retaining rings up to 1 meter. I don't think I've ever seen a circlip larger than 200 millimeters, so that would have to be one serious shaft in order to get a 1 meter circlip. I would hate to be in the same room if that size circlip slips out of the jaws. Onto the design of the pliers. I really do like how they prominently display the model number along with the circlip ranges on the joint of each unit. On most units you would see this stamped on the plastic handle, which is much more likely to rub off over time. You can also just tell your apprentice to grab the A2 pliers from your toolbox and hopefully they will figure it out. It is an interesting design how the tips all look like a piece of rolled steel that was pressed onto the handles. It's actually a design I don't believe I've ever seen on any other brand. I'm guessing that the steel at the tips needs to be a very ductile but strong material that is both hard and flexible so that you don't snap off the tips but remain wear resistant. Tips of both types are angled, which is pretty standard for all circlip pliers these days. Many years ago you would see circlip pliers with straight tips, and very often this would cause those retaining rings to fly across the shop. Only the pliers used for external retaining rings have return springs, which are exposed underneath of the joint. This is a pretty common design for external circlip pliers. I did notice that the spring used was significantly smaller than the one used on this set of Knipex circlip pliers for the same retaining ring size. I suppose in the future we should have a showdown of circlip pliers. It looks like Hazet and Stahlwille also make decent versions that we should take a gander at. The grips feel very similar to the normal plastic dip pliers that you get with most units. They both appear and feel very much like the same formula used by the Knipex pliers. Now to do a couple of quick tests. The only thing I currently have disassembled is the Wacker EHP 10100, which has a couple of different sizes and types of retaining rings. First, testing it with a 42mm internal retaining ring, you can see one of the shortcomings of the 90-degree style tips. If the groove is too far in the bore, then the tips will bottom out before the retaining ring can engage. This will be a shortcoming of almost any brand and not necessarily specific to the Gedore. I'm not sure if the tip length is part of the DIN ISO standard or not, so I can't say if other brands would do better in this scenario. Therefore, for this particular instance, we need to use the Form C pliers. There were no problems disengaging the plier after seating the retaining ring in the groove. I also didn't have any problems with it flying off of the pliers. This might be a different story if the compartment was full of grease like it normally is. Now onto another internal retaining ring, this time a 45mm diameter. In this particular instance we can use the Form D 90-degree pliers since the groove is not very deep within the bore. I always find it easier to use the angled version over the straight versions because you can see a lot better what you're doing. Next, we'll test the pliers on some external retaining rings. In this case I have a retaining ring for a 20mm shaft that goes on this armature. Sort of a strange place to see a retaining ring if you ask me. The interesting thing about this particular size is that it is within the overlap of the two size circlip pliers. First we'll try to place the circlip plier using the smaller A1 pliers. No problems here. Now to remove it, I'll use the A2 pliers. First thing I notice right away is that the tips barely fit in the holes, which can be a pain to get everything lined up just right. Therefore, it looks like it is generally better to use the smaller of the two in this instance when there is an overlap. One of the main reasons I picked up this set over the other brands is that the tool module integrations that Gedore offers for their tool trolley and tool cabinets. This particular unit is a 1/3 module, meaning that with the 1578 tool trolley that I own, I can fit 3 1/3 modules within a single drawer. The insert is made of a high quality 2-color black on blue foam that is CNC cut to accept the pliers. I did notice that the prongs of the pliers did stab the foam in a couple of places during shipping, but that is to be expected, and I don't think that Gedore could have done anything to avoid this. These 2-color systems are also known as positive tool control and are used in shops where it is important to ensure that all tools are accounted for at the end of a job, such as when working on aircraft or other safety critical vehicles. Some people call these systems shadowboxing. The fact that 2 sets of the pliers are stacked upon another sort of defeats the purpose of the positive tool control system, but I am glad that they did it this way because you could fit a lot more into this module. You can still tell pretty easily that one is missing, even for the 2 pliers that stack upon one another. Overall, I think Gedore has a winner here. The design appears really solid, the grips are comfortable, and they work a heck of a lot better than some of the 30-year-old circlip pliers I've been using over the years. I have noticed that all the products coming out of their Austria plant lately have been very high quality, which includes all of their pliers and a good portion of their steel toolboxes. Well, hopefully you enjoyed that look at Gedore's line of circlip pliers. Check out the link in the description below to the full review. Also in the description are the KC Tool and Amazon product links to all these products where applicable. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.